So you're here today to talk about how to prioritize our marketing. And I think you have a great book. Can you relay the title of your book and tell us a little bit about your background, Matt?
Sure. So my book is called Flattening the Hamster Wheel. Stop grinding and start making an impact. And it looks like this. It's got like a little train track.
Or like this.
Or Kindle.
I read it on Kindle, so I don't have the cover. Yeah.
Essentially, this book was written because I run a marketing agency and we kept running into the same problems that businesses were having over and over. And they almost always get stuck in the same spots. And so what we wanted to do is address that with some solutions so that they can get over that hump or over that hurdle. And instead of running like they're on a hamster wheel, we can cut the hamster wheel and flatten it out like a train track so they can move forward with their business.
Yeah. And so much of this is really about prioritization, right? How is it that you can figure out which task you should prioritize? Because I think we as business owners all wake up in the morning and we think, how can I have the most impact today? And sometimes when you're looking at a to-do list that's 3 pages long, it's difficult to know which of those things are going to have the most impact, especially in marketing where there are no guarantees. You're not certain what's actually going to work. What's your process for that?
So there's kind of a two-pronged approach there. The first thing is everybody's question that they have is, what should I do next?
Yes.
And if you don't have an answer to what should I do next, then whatever is immediate becomes important. The problem is what's immediate is not important.
Or what you like to do, what you like to do.
Or what you like to do. Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of next on the priority list for most people, right?
Yep.
So if you just do, whatever comes into your notifications or your mailbox or your inbox or the next piece of client work or the next task on your list, you are never going to accomplish the things that are going to get your business over the hump or break through the ceiling that you're stuck at. So the process is kind of a two-pronged process, as I said. We named it Ice and Armor, which ICE is actually spelled with 2 C's. It's ICCE.
What is it?
ICE stands for Impact, Confident, Cost, and Effort. Very simply, if you take like a little piece of paper, just whatever, it's kind of a square piece of paper, and you make a column for each one of these, the idea that you have goes first, right? And we'll get to how you come up with these ideas in a second. The idea you have goes first. You can do this on the computer too. You don't have to write it down, but honestly, studies show if you write it down, you memorize it faster than if you type it. So you put your idea down, you rank on a scale of 1 to 10. How much impact is this idea going to have for my business? And number 2 is,
let's stick with impact for a second.
Sure.
How do you know? Because so much of marketing is trying things and testing and not knowing whether or not it's going to work.
Make an educated guess. Problem, what you're trying to do here is estimate what the best next thing to do is. So this is not a for sure. This is a way to determine what is the next thing on my list that I should try. And as we all know, if you type in how to market my business or something like that into Google, you are going to chase shiny objects for the rest of your life, and you will still be on the hamster wheel.
Oh yeah. Or you go to a networking event and you hear what everybody else is trying, and they'll all say, you should do this, you should do this. So the next thing you know, you have 3 pages of shoulds written down, right? And it's hard to know exactly which one to try first.
So this is a way to evaluate all those ideas, plus your own ideas, and then score them. So if you say, okay, I'm Instagram Reels are a big thing, right? Right now, Zuckerberg came out and said, oh, we're going to focus on video and Reels are the best big thing now, and blah, blah, blah. It's basically TikTok for Instagram and Facebook.
Right.
So we would put Reels on the list, right? I'm going to say, I'm not that confident about it. I'm about a 3 out of 10 that I think this is going to grow my business, right? So then the next thing, right, is, so that's how much impact I think it's going to have on my business, and how confident I am is also a 3. I'm not confident, right? Now on the other side is, how much is it going to cost you? So cost is the dollar value and effort is the time value.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take me no dollars, but it's going to take me a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
I got to figure out how to shoot video. I got to use vertical video. I got to get my lights and my everything. And so that I look pretty on my video and a microphone and all the things, whatever, get it all set up, learn how to use reels, learn how to edit them, publish them. How many do I publish? I don't even know. Right. So
Yes.
a lot of time, not much money. So if I add up the impact and the confidence, right, which I had a 3 for each, that comes to a total of 6.
Mm-hmm.
I subtract 7 on how much time it's going to take me. My total score is -1.
Sounds like you don't want to do that. Just guessing.
Probably not a good use of my time.
Right.
Now, here's another one. Let's do another one. What about handwritten thank you notes to my clients? So if I want my clients to refer me to their friends and family, a nice way to encourage that is to send handwritten thank you notes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to have a fairly big impact on my business. I'm going to say a 5 on impact, right? So more referrals is going to impact my business pretty well. I'm not that sure it's going to work though. So I'm going to put a 2 under confidence, right? It cost 1 because it's just all I got to do is buy some paper and some envelopes and good to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Time takes 30 seconds to scribble a note, right? 1. So now I take my 5 plus my 2 is 7. Minus 1 and 1, right? Minus 2 is 5.
Mm-hmm.
5 is higher than -1. 5 is the thing you do next.
Now there's another piece that we've talked about in previous meetings, which is really about how much joy you get from something, how good you are at doing something. And does your process take that into account into the cost areas? Because if it's not something you enjoy doing, you might not be good at doing it in the long run. You might be more of a sprinter than a marathoner at it. And so you're going to have to hire out for it. Do you just bake that assumption in right up front?
Yeah, I mean, because you're the one making the evaluation of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't need to be a hard cost like, okay, this is going to take this many hours, so I have to write this number in.
Mm-hmm.
You can also factor in how hard is it going to motivate yourself to do this thing, right? Or do I have to go find someone who can do this for me, which will increase the time plus increase the cost, right? So you can include those in. But you should do this not just for your marketing. You should essentially do this for every way that you can make money, which is how you get to the armor side of ice and armor.
Mm-hmm.
And armor is the 5 ways that you can make money in a business.
Tell
right?
us. Mm-hmm.
So first A is acquisition. That's get more leads. This is what you hear from every single business owner that you talk to. What do you want? They want more leads. Where they fail with acquisition is that they think acquisition and activation are the same thing, but they're not. Getting leads is acquisition. Turning those leads into customers is another step. That's activation. Okay. So when somebody goes out and they have a plumbing supply company and they run ads on Facebook that say, buy our stuff, no one uses them and they say Facebook ads don't work. And it's not that they don't work, it's that they skipped a step, right? They tried to acquire a customer on the first step instead of getting a lead and then nurturing that lead to become a customer.
You know,
right?
I work in the software industry, and we see this a lot, particularly with companies that have what's known as a freemium business model, which is that you can use their product for free. And then once you hit a certain limit, maybe you bring on multiple people from your team to use it, or you have a certain number of contacts, or you need extra special features. Once you hit that limit, then you start to pay. Well, what happens oftentimes is that they don't get activated. And so they don't move beyond freemium to the actual, to become a paying customer. And then these companies are stuck with continuing to pay for all of these freemium accounts because it still costs money to serve people on these freemium accounts. They pay to acquire them. They're still paying something, some nominal amount to service them and not activating them and turning them into paying customers.
That's right. And then you also need to work in with, I mean, essentially anything that is a subscription or a SaaS or any of that kind of stuff where somebody's paying you amount monthly or yearly, whatever the thing is, you need to think about the cost of switching, right? What makes it so valuable that if they switch, it's painful, right? This is the reason why you don't switch your cell phone plan, even though your cellular company is crappy. It's because it's a pain in the butt to move all your contacts and transfer the stuff and get a new phone and get a new bill and get a new phone number and all that kind of stuff, right? Cost of switching is high. But let's get back to a couple of things. So we have acquisition and activation that we already talked about. That's the two A's in ARMOR, right? R is retention. If you can keep your paying customers longer, you will make more money, right? It's retention. So the problem with retention, you know what? There's a fabulous story about retention. And I'm actually put it in my new book that I'm writing right now. It's going to be out in April. That one's called How We've Always Done It. So it kind of, goes in on the same idea here. A guy and his daughter go into a bank, right? And they have a little table at the bank where they have all these prizes like toasters and coffee makers and all this stuff. And she says, well, what are all the presents for? Right? He says, so when you get a new account, you can pick out of one of the prizes, right? And she goes, oh, so do you get a prize? He says, well, no, I've been a customer here for years, right? And she goes, so what do you get? And that's the thing. That's retention, right?
Yeah.
Everyone spends all their money acquiring customers, but they don't spend any time or effort keeping them, right? And if you can just keep your customers longer, you can make more money because it's cheaper to keep them than it is to get new ones, right?
Yep.
So that leads us to monetization. And monetization is finding new things that you can sell to your customers that you already have. So what else can you offer your clients? That could be other products that you come up with, other services, add-on services, loyalty programs, all that kind of stuff, right? Or it could even be partnerships, collaborations with other companies who serve, the same customer base. So that's your monetization. Revenue is finding new sources of revenue. That's essentially creating a new product, right? So if we go back, you've got acquisition, retention, monetization, activation, and revenue, right? There isn't any other way to make money, right? Unless you get into like banking and finance, which I don't think that's what most of our audience today is talking about.
So if we have a list of possible activities, I think many of us are thinking of that list as being primarily acquisition related activities. Are you suggesting that we come up with lists in each of those buckets of campaigns or activities that we might try, and then we begin to prioritize from there?
Yes. So you should go through each of those and determine what is the best activity to do that thing. And some of them may not be relevant to your business, you got to kind of wing it, right? And see which thing is important to your business and come up with a list from there. And because you're scoring them all by the same method, then all you got to do, even if it's 5 different categories of ways to make money, and you have 10 things that you put into each one, that's 50 ideas. You just take the one with the highest score, right? So you're going to know which thing you should do next. And you want to set aside time in your business to do this. Time block it. Tell
us about you, because I know that you're a big time blocker.
Tell us about amazing time blocker.
Tell us about how you do that.
I make sure that all of the tasks that I'm going to do are set into the same blocks of time, and each block of time is either a morning or an afternoon. So with one exception, and that is writing books. And people say, oh, I've been writing my book, and you talk to them about it and they're like, well, it's going to be out sometime soon. And you ask them how long they've been writing it. And they've been writing it for 5 years.
I'm impressed by how confidently you announced that your next book is coming out in April. I'll tell you, it's hard to set a deadline on that. If you don't set a deadline and you're not public about it, it's hard to commit to it.
That's right. And I started writing it in November. So this book, Flattening the Hamster Wheel, this is how I discovered how quickly you can write a book, because I did something stupid and I didn't know it was stupid at the time. I figured if you put your book up for pre-sale on Amazon, you can change the date. It turns out you can't. So if you put your book up for sale 90 days from now and you don't publish it in that 90 days, they take away your publishing rights for a year.
Wow.
So I had only started writing the book about 2 weeks before that. So I had to not only finish writing the entire book, and we had to do our edit, our rewrite, and then 2 more edits and publish it in 90 days.
Amazing.
So in 110 total days from the first word written in a document to getting the cover done and everything out and published, and as well as, you gotta have your launch party and, all the things where you're going to order your copies ahead of time so you have them after your book launches to give away and stuff like that. So anyways, here's my process for writing now. Drop my daughter off at school. I go to the coffee shop. I sit in the same spot. I get the same drink. I use the same computer. That's a Chromebook that I just use for that one thing. I open it up. The only thing on it is my book. I put my phone away. I write for an hour. Every single day, 5 days a week. Except for today, because my daughter had a snow day. But so anyways, that's how I get my book written. After that, it's time blocking. So Tuesday afternoons and Thursday afternoons are podcast recordings because I have 2 podcasts. So people can book in those times. I book them for a couple of weeks until I have the next, month or 2 worth of podcasts done. And then I don't book any for the next few weeks. And then I do it again.
Yeah.
Right. And we have a live show that we do kind of similar to this called Business Builder Throwdown, which we then edit and then it goes on YouTube. We did that weekly, but our next one, we're actually going to do pre-recorded. And so we are time blocking those in so that we can do 2 or 3 episodes at a time each Thursday for 1 month and have our whole year worth of episodes done. And I do the same thing, creative tasks in the morning, administrative tasks in the afternoon. That is because, and it may not be the same for you, but research shows that you're better at creative tasks in the morning than you are in the evening.
Yes, I am as well.
Yeah, most people are like that. Unless you're like a serious night owl, then sometimes creative time might be like late at night.
Yeah.
It kind of changes as you get older too.
I'm actually also a napper. And I find that if I nap, I'm more creative when I wake up than if I try to work straight through.
Yeah, I think there's something about sleeping that makes the creativity flow a little better.
Yeah. Yep. Look, I want to read a paragraph from your book because this really struck me, because I think one of the things that we need to think about is not only are we prioritizing the next things to do, but we also need to decide which things we should stop doing. Right. And oftentimes what happens is we just, as you said, we keep doing it because we've always done it that way, even though certain tactics may become less effective over time, or something isn't actually working and we're not really evaluating it and we don't stop doing it. So let me read this paragraph. You wrote, let's use an example on a popular social media site. The average business post gets shown to 0.17% of your followers, 0.17%. That is 17 people for every 1,000 followers you have. Think about how long it takes just to build up 1,000 followers on a social media site, right? And 17 people see your post. However, if you spent just $1 a day advertising that same post, you'd reach all 1,000 followers in less than a week. I just thought that really sort of quantified and nailed this challenge that a lot of people face, where they'll hear at networking events, meetups, whatever, that other people have made, organic social media work. They'll not recognize the difference between investing time and investing money in something. They'll start doing it. The next thing you know, they're on 5 different social media platforms, and they're spending a ton of time having to post. Even if you just post once a week, posting on 5 different platforms, if you're going to do it right, requires revising all of those posts. And then all your marketing time, all the time you're able to block off on your calendar for marketing, is stuck doing stuff that isn't really resulting in anything for your business.
Absolutely.
Throwing a big ball of wax out there for you.
When you were looking at COVID time and small businesses suddenly had no foot traffic, especially in larger cities, right? Or tourism areas, they have no foot traffic left. So what do they got? They got Facebook, right? Because that's the only one they signed up for. Maybe Instagram if they're lucky, right? And they got maybe an email list that has a few customers on it when they thought about making a mailing list, and then they never used it.
Yep.
So now they have no way to talk to anybody. So what they do, they go on Facebook and they start posting, and they start posting like crazy because they heard Gary Vaynerchuk say, if you post 27 times a day, it's going to help you, right? It's not.
Right.
Okay. It might have at the time that he first said it, which was 7 years ago, but it's not going to help you now.
This is the thing. People don't realize that social media platforms have a lifespan, a life cycle. And if you get in early, you can really build that follower base and you can start to show up more. But if you get in late,
that's right.
You're not going to be the next Gary Vaynerchuk.
Now, here's something that nobody knows about social media. I shouldn't say nobody. You probably know this, but your average business owner does not know that one of the things that has changed in algorithms on almost every social media platform is that it knows how to detect if it's a business post versus a personal post.
Yes.
If it detects that it's a business post, it automatically shuts off the mechanism for that post to become viral. They will not allow it to get shown to enough people for it to go viral unless you pay for it, because otherwise you would just do that and not buy ads.
Yep.
So if you don't spend money on the platform, your post is not going to get shown to hardly anyone.
That's why you see people more often posting on their personal accounts, especially, for example, on LinkedIn. We spend a lot more time posting on our personal accounts than we do on the business account.
Yeah. I don't even remember the last time I posted on my LinkedIn business account. I post this on my personal LinkedIn every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes twice a day. And like you were saying, platforms, they do have a time span, and it really depends on your audience. You know, if your audience is people 40 plus, Facebook and Instagram are where you should be right now, right? Or if your audience is real estate agents, insurance agents, places, anyone who has like financial services companies and stuff, where they have regulations that they have to follow because they can't go on TikTok because they haven't been regulated for them yet. They're not allowed to, right? Or they have not made the switch to that platform. And right now, what's happening with a platform like TikTok is you're seeing about 40% now is people over 40, right? It's a huge shift. And that shift has happened in a matter of months. And what's happening right now with TikTok is all of the younger people are either aging out of it, right? Or they're leaving. And they're leaving because, as Gene Volpe from the Real Estate Uncensored podcast the other day was saying, that it's called the, oh my God, my parents are on here.
Yes, exactly. It's you don't want your parents chaperoning your dance party.
That's right. So as soon as they're on, then the kids leave and go somewhere else. And where your young people are now, you know, there's still quite a bit of use, you know, around Snapchat. A lot of them are on private channels like Discord servers and, you know, Twitch and places like that, Patreon, as well as in-game. So that would be people hanging out in game servers. I know that may be odd for your average adult person to think about, but you know, kids go in and I'll go hang out in the room in Fortnite, right? You know, or whatever the server, whatever the game is that they like to use. So you see these differences in platforms. And I know it's difficult because you're a business owner and you're like, yeah, but I only know how to do this and this, and I don't want to go learn TikTok or something, right?
Yep.
So what you need to do is figure out what is a good use of your time and what's going to be effective. And the way you do that is by using the strategy of being able to write down. You don't have to buy the book to do this. You just go back and watch the start again where I explain it. And you can make your own little graph and you can figure it out, right? This is how they effectively iterate in the manufacturing world. That's where that strategy comes from. So they try and improve the manufacturing process to lower the defect rate and increase efficiency. And that's what this is all about. How can you make better use of your time? And there's an opportunity cost to everything that you do, because when you're doing this, you're not doing this, right? And if this is the thing that would have made you money and you're doing this instead, that is a loss, right? So
and, you know, I would say you can also do it at multiple levels within your business. So you could do it at a functional level. Is my time right now best spent, let's say, doing marketing or applying for a loan or going out and getting investors or something else, right? You could do it at a functional level. when should I be doing my marketing right now? You can also do it within the function. So of all these different marketing tactics, which one should I test right now? And then you can also do it at a really detailed level. And we do this, for example, we do a lot of YouTube advertising, and we'll throw up a bunch of different ideas for creatives for YouTube ads, and we will score it the same way. Which do we think is most likely to win? How much would it cost to produce this? Can we do it in-house? Do we have to hire actors? All these kinds of things in order to produce it. So you can do it kind of at multiple levels within your organization.
Right. You're in Michigan, and it's funny because there is an advertising strategy system called the Michigan method.
I've never heard of it.
The Michigan method is that you split up all of your audiences into smaller chunks of audiences. And then you also do the same thing. You score all the different ads you have, and then you put all of those ads for all those audiences and all those ad groups, because there's no limit, right? There's unlimited shelf space in the advertising world, right? Or in the digital world. You can make as many ads as you want. I mean, for the most part, right? I think the limit on Facebook per ad group is 64,000 ads, right? You're not going to make that many, right? So the Michigan method is you split up the ad groups by platform, by age, by location, and then you put all the same ads in all the same groups, and then you watch to see which ones perform, and you kill off the ones that don't do well, and you keep the ones that do well, and then you can start combining those groups back into larger audiences again once you find which ones work.
So it's a way to test both audiences and creative at the same time.
Yes.
Interesting.
I didn't come up with that. Frank Kern came up with that. So I saw him at Traffic and Conversion Summit a few years ago.
Yeah. Awesome. Fascinating. So a lot of what you've been talking about today sort of reminds me of the book, The E-Myth, which is all about how do you get past working in your business and really focus on working on your business. And one of the challenges that a lot of the people that we work with have is that they're solopreneurs, or maybe they just have one part-time helper. And so there's just a limited number of hours in the day. And it's really hard because you have to do the stuff in the business too, right? If you're a consultant delivering a service, you still have to provide the service. You can't spend all of your time doing, high level thinking about working on your business. So what advice do you have for people who have, maybe it's just themselves or it's just one employee? How do they make time for this?
Usually you make time by finding the things that you shouldn't be doing. And the hardest thing is to stop doing something that you've always done, that you know how to do, right? You've got a system in place and it's good. It's a habit. You've got it down, but I mean, I have an example in my new book. Perfect example. Okay. This lady working at this company, it's essentially a construction company. She posts on Facebook twice a day and Instagram once a day, every single business day, right? Plus she makes Twitter posts. She's supposed to be an administrative assistant, but apparently they have her in the marketing realm, right? And when they audited her time, she spends 10 hours a week on this. And when they looked at it, they have not had a new person click on any of those things for over a year. The same 5 people click like on those posts, right? It's the wife of the person,
my brother,
or the husband of the person, your brother, and 2 employees click on that post, right? Can you imagine what that person could have done for the business if they were able to get that 520 hours of time back? Right? That is an insane amount of hours, right? Spent on a worthless task. And I'm not saying social media is worthless. I'm saying posting 3 times a day, 5 days a week when you're a construction company on Facebook and Instagram is worthless, with no strategy and no backing of any kind of creative.
There's always an opportunity cost. So even if it's not worthless, it simply may not be worth as much as something else you could be doing with that time.
That's right. If that person spent one tiny fraction of all that time auditing the language on their website, they probably could have brought in even 1 or 2% more business, which would have been thousands of dollars and paid for that time, right? They could have spent a fraction of that time She could have been writing thank you notes, right? Just like we were saying earlier.
If she were you, she could have written about 52 books during that time.
That's right. She could have wrote like 50 books already. Well, I appreciate that you like my efficient book writing. You have a good system down.
I actually am working on a book right now. And I say I'm working on a book as opposed to using the verb writing a book,
right?
Because I started writing, and I think maybe this is the sort of path a lot of first-time book writers fall into. I started writing and then realized, oh, wait a minute, I need to go back and do a lot more interviews. I need to do a lot more research. I need to get a lot more case studies put together before I return to writing. So right. I'm now back in the working stage. And I actually do think that, sort of walking around and thinking about things and kind of mapping it out in your head is part of the working it stage. And then I'll go back to writing and hopefully be much more efficient about it.
I already know what the next book is going to be before I finish the last book.
Amazing.
Right. I have an idea and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start working on this. And my next book after this one is going to be called, actually, you know what? I wrote it down just the other day because I had a good idea for the title. Where'd I write it? Here it is.
All right. This is like the world premiere right here.
This is the world premiere, your exclusive premiere of the book after my next book. It's called Fire Half Your Clients and Make Double the Money.
Yeah.
And I think you can tell from the title of what it's about.
Yep. We've all been there.
Everybody knows the 80-20 rule, right? Wow, it's true, folks. And the other thing that's true is you're not charging enough.
Yep.
Well, that's a wrap. If you enjoyed this episode of Marketing Made Easy, please subscribe to Jottful's YouTube channel. That's JOTTFUL. That way, you'll never miss an episode. We'll meet you on the next one.